The stars were silent at the edge of the galaxy. Far away from the busy trade routes, far away from the bright lights of the Empire, there was only emptiness and cold. But in that emptiness, something stirred. The listening post known as Echo 7 floated alone, forgotten by most, its crew small and tired. For years they had watched nothing but static. For years they had waited for a transfer that never came. But tonight the silence broke. A faint signal crackled across the old receivers. At first it was weak, almost like a ghost of sound. The young technician thought it was just another burst of space noise. But the pattern repeated. It was not random. It carried rhythm, shape, and a voice. He froze as he read the translation. The message was in a language no one had spoken for 10,000 years. It was human. He called for the commander, his voice shaking. Soon the whole outpost gathered around the old console, staring at the strange signal. The words were broken, fading in and out, but the meaning was clear enough. We are here. We wait in the dark. The crew looked at one another with wide eyes. Humanity had been gone for ages, wiped away in a war that ended before most civilizations were even born. Or so the history books said. But this signal told another story. Humanity was not gone. Somewhere at the edge of the galaxy they still lived. The commander wasted no time. She sent a priority message to Fleet Command. Hours later, orders came back. A warship was being dispatched. Not a scout, not a courier, a heavy warship. That alone told the crew how serious this was. If the signal was real, then the galaxy might be standing on the edge of a secret older than their empires. If it was a trap, they would need guns ready. Days later, the Iron Destiny arrived, its massive hull dark and scarred from old battles. The ship was a legend itself, a survivor of wars no one liked to remember. Its captain, Arik Vale, was a man who trusted little and believed even less. When he heard the recording of the human signal, his face gave away nothing. But his eyes, cold and sharp, did not leave the console for a long time. Set course for the source, he ordered. His voice carried no emotion, only steel. The Iron Destiny turned its engines toward the farthest system, where no colony had ever survived, where the stars themselves seemed to fade into nothing. The crew whispered in their bunks. They all knew the stories. Humanity had been fierce, dangerous, unmatched in war. The galaxy had breathed easier when they vanished. But if they had survived, what would that mean now? The journey took days. Each hour stretched with tension. The signal grew stronger, pulsing through the dark like a heartbeat. Sometimes the voice grew clearer. Sometimes it was almost a whisper, almost human in its tone. The words were always the same. We are here. We wait in the dark. Some crew swore the voice sounded tired, even sorrowful. Others thought it sounded like a warning. Nobody slept easily. Finally, the warship entered the dead system. The stars here were dim, half-burnt, as if the universe itself had forgotten them. Planets hung silent, broken, stripped of air and water. Debris fields circled the empty orbits, old wreckage drifting endlessly. It was a graveyard, and the signal came from its heart. The Iron Destiny pushed forward, its shields raised, guns armed. In the shadow of a shattered moon, they saw it. A station old and blackened by time, but still alive with faint power. It should not have been standing. No station should have lasted this long. But it did, silent and patient, its antennas reaching out like bony fingers. The signal was loud now, echoing through every deck. We are here. We wait in the dark. The crew felt cold. Some whispered prayers. Others only gripped their weapons tighter. Captain Arik gave a single order. Prepare a boarding team. As the shuttle left the warship and drifted toward the silent station, the crew inside felt their hearts beat faster. The airlock opened with a groan of metal, dust floating like snow. Inside, the halls were dark, the walls covered in frost. Yet the lights still flickered faintly and the machine still hummed after all this time. The boarding team's boots echoed in the silence as they moved deeper. In the command chamber, they found an old console still alive, its screen glowing faintly. And there, repeating again and again, was the message. Not a recording, but a live transmission, cycling through the system as if waiting for someone to listen. The technician reached out with trembling hands. The console flared once, and then more words appeared on the screen. Words no one expected. Do not open the vault. If you hear this, turn back. Leave us here. For your own sake, leave. The chamber grew colder. The crew stared at the words. Their breaths fogged in the air. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Captain Arik's voice came through the comms, steady but sharp. Report. The boarding leader swallowed hard before answering. Sir, the station is alive, and it wants us to stay away. The words on the screen shifted again as if answering him directly. We are here. We wait in the dark. Do not wake us. The team stood frozen. None of them spoke. The silence of the station pressed down on them, heavy and suffocating. And then deep within the broken halls they heard something move. Not an echo. Not a machine. Something alive. The darkness stirred and the crew realized the signal was not just a call. It was a warning. The warship Iron Destiny kept its guns aimed at the silent station, its crew watching the faint lights flicker in the void. No one spoke much, but the fear was heavy, crawling into their bones. A signal that spoke in human tongue after 10,000 years was already enough to shake the galaxy. But the warning, the words burned in every mind. Do not open the vault. Do not wake us. Captain Arik Vale stood at the center of the command deck, his face hard as carved stone. He had fought in too many wars, seen too many strange things in the dark, but even he felt the weight of the message. Warnings were rarely left for nothing. Yet he knew the High Command would not accept silence. They demanded answers, and answers waited inside. Prepare another team, he ordered. His voice carried no doubt, only command. This time we find the source. The boarding shuttle launched again, drifting into the broken skeleton of the station. The airlock groaned, the doors grinding open like the jaws of some ancient beast. The team stepped inside, lights cutting through frozen mist. Every step echoed down metal halls that had not heard life in ages. The station was vast, far larger than the records had suggested. Whole wings stretched out like veins filled with dark chambers and ruined equipment. But the deeper they went, the more intact the place seemed. Machines still hummed. Lights still glowed faintly. Something had been keeping this relic alive. They reached a sealed door taller than the rest, scarred with burn marks and reinforced by layers of alloy. Words in human script were etched across it, old yet sharp. None of the aliens could read the language, but their translators spoke the truth. Vault 17, restricted access. Do not enter. The team leader hesitated, his finger hovering over the controls. Captain. The warning is clear. Whatever's in here, it wasn't meant to be opened. Captain Arik's reply came cold through the comm. Our orders are clear. Open it. The crew worked quickly. Sparks lit the air as cutters tore through the lock. The metal door groaned, then slowly pulled apart. Cold air rushed out, carrying the stench of age and silence. Their lights revealed a chamber that stretched far below, massive and hidden deep within the station's core. And in that chamber, resting like giants asleep, were ships. Dozens of them. Human warships. The boarding team gasped. The vessels were ancient, their hulls scarred yet whole, lined in rows like soldiers frozen in time. Dust clung to them, but faint blue lights pulsed along their frames. They were not dead. They were waiting. The technician's hand shook as he tapped his scanner. Sir, these ships, they're still powered. They've been kept in standby for thousands of years. The crew stared in awe and fear. No alien ship had lasted more than centuries, but here a hidden fleet slept untouched by time. Humanity had not died. They had hidden. At the far end of the chamber, a massive control core flickered to life. Words scrolled across the wall screens, repeating the same message. Do not wake us. Do not open the vault. The war is not over. The enemy waits. The words chilled them. The enemy. What enemy? The history book spoke of many wars, but none that ended like this. Before they could decide, the floor shuddered beneath their feet. Lights blazed across the chamber. Engines hummed with power. One by one, the warships stirred, their dark eyes opening. The boarding team fell back in panic, weapons raised, but the ships did not fire. They only powered up, their systems whispering in deep mechanical tones. The leader shouted into his comm. Captain, they're waking. We didn't touch anything, I swear. Something triggered them. On the Iron Destiny, alarms rang across the decks. Energy surges filled the void. The station's core pulsed like a beating heart. Captain Arik gripped the railing, his jaw tight. Pull the team out. Now. But it was too late. The chamber roared with sound as one of the human warships lifted, engines glowing like newborn stars. Its weapons gleamed in the dark, ancient but sharp. The boarding crew could only watch in frozen awe as the Colossus rose above them. Then a voice filled the chamber. Not broken, not faint, but strong and alive. A human voice. Who wakes us? The words echoed like thunder. The boarding team froze. The air grew heavy, every breath sharp and cold. None dared answer. Again the voice came. Who dares wake the fleet? The technician's knees buckled. His translator whispered the words across every comm channel. The crew on the Iron Destiny heard it too. For the first time in their lives, they heard a living human speak. Captain Arik answered, his voice steady, though his heart pounded. This is Captain Eric Vale of the warship Iron Destiny. We come from the Alliance. Humanity has been gone for millennia. Who are you? The silence that followed was unbearable. Then slowly the reply came. Humanity is not gone. Humanity waits. We sleep until the war is finished. Tell us, is the enemy dead? No one on the command deck spoke. No one aboard the shuttle dared breathe. What enemy, what war? Arik's voice lowered. There is no enemy here. The galaxy has moved on. The war you speak of, it is history. But the human voice growled through the comms, colder now. History? No, you are blind. The war never ended. The enemy only sleeps. And now because you woke us, they will wake too. The lights across the chamber flared. More ships hummed alive, their engines burning. The dead system was no longer silent. The graveyard had become a cradle, and its children were stirring. On the decks of the Iron Destiny, fear spread like fire. The crew knew one thing. Whatever had been hidden here was not meant for them. The human fleet was waking. And so was their enemy. The dead system no longer slept. Engines hummed inside the vault as the ancient human ships stirred, shaking dust from their massive frames. The Iron Destiny drifted in silence nearby, its crew staring at the growing light within the ruined station. The void, once so still, now pulsed with power. Captain Arik Vale stood rigid on his deck, eyes locked on the display. Dozens of signals bloomed across the scanners. Human warships. Old but alive. And they were waking. His crew whispered in fear. No one had seen a living human for 10,000 years. No one believed they could still exist. Keep weapons primed, Arik ordered. His voice was steady, but even he felt the weight of what was happening. No fire unless I say. In the vault, the boarding team struggled to keep calm. The chamber thundered with the sound of power surging through steel bones. Lights flashed across the hulls, forming patterns no one understood. It was like watching giants breathe for the first time in ages. Then one of the ships moved. A colossal dreadnought, black and scarred, lifted free from its cradle. Its engines glowed like the heart of a newborn star. Dust stormed across the chamber floor as the vessel rose, steady and purposeful, until its weapons pointed toward the heavens once more. The boarding team shrank back, their lights trembling. A voice boomed across every channel. Fleet Omega rising. Systems awake. Who calls us back? The words were clear. Human. Alive. The crew on the Iron Destiny leaned closer to their stations. Some could barely breathe. They were listening to history itself speak. Captain Arik stepped forward, his tone calm but sharp. This is Captain Arik Vale of the Alliance warship Iron Destiny. We discovered your signal. We mean no harm. Who are you? For a long moment, only silence answered. Then another voice joined the first. This one was softer, weary, but just as human. We are the last guardians, the sleepers of the Black War. We are those who stayed when all others fled. The team leader inside the vault trembled. Captain, these aren't ghosts. They're alive, but how? 10,000 years had passed. No life could last so long. The dreadnought's voice cut through their thoughts. Tell us, has the enemy fallen? Did our sacrifice hold? The crew glanced at one another, confused. Arik spoke carefully. There is no enemy here. Whatever war you fought, it is long over. The galaxy has changed. The reply came cold, filled with dread. No, you are wrong. The war never ends. The enemy waits in the dark, always waiting. That is why we slept. That is why we buried the fleet. Until the call came. The words struck like ice. The crew understood now. The signal was never a call for help. It was a warning. They were never meant to open the vault, and yet it was too late. Another ship stirred, then another. The chamber shook as row upon row of warships powered up, engines burning, hulls groaning under ancient strain. The void outside lit with growing energy as the dead fleet returned to life. The technician's voice broke across comms, fear thick in his throat. Captain, you don't understand. These ships, they're not just old. They're advanced, more advanced than anything we have. If they decide we're the enemy, the words cut off as the dreadnought spoke again. Identify yourselves. Prove you are not with them. Prove you are not the machines. The boarding crew looked at each other in panic. Machines? What machines? Arik steadied his voice. We are flesh and blood. We are not your enemy. We are explorers, soldiers of a united alliance. We fight only to protect our people. The silence that followed was crushing. Then slowly the reply came. Very well. You are not machines, but you are children of peace. You do not know war. You do not know what waits. The humans aboard the fleet sounded both broken and fierce. They had waited too long, buried too deep, and carried wounds the galaxy had forgotten. Inside the vault, the team found another chamber opening, revealing pods, rows of them stacked like tombs. One hissed open with a slow exhale of frost. A figure stumbled out, skin pale, eyes blazing with something more than life. A human, a true, living human. The boarding crew froze. They had expected corpses, bones, relics, but here was a man breathing, armored in battle gear older than empires. He stared at them with hard eyes, his hand gripping a weapon that hummed with old power. Where? Am I? His voice was rough as if dragged from a long dream. The team leader stammered. You're safe. We're with the Alliance. The human's gaze hardened. Alliance? I know no such name. Tell me, are the machines destroyed? No one answered. They couldn't. They didn't even know what he meant. The silence told him everything. His face grew grim. Then we woke too soon. He turned toward the dreadnought, and the ship's lights seemed to flare in response as if it recognized him. The others still in their pods would follow soon, and the fleet would be whole again. The boarding team backed away, unease pressing against their chests. This was no discovery. This was an awakening, and it was not theirs to control. On the Iron Destiny, Captain Arik's hands clenched the railing. He understood now. Humanity had not died. Humanity had been waiting. Waiting for a war no one else remembered, against an enemy no one else had seen. And if these humans were right, if the enemy was only sleeping, then by waking them, the Alliance had doomed the galaxy. The dreadnought's voice thundered once more. We rise, we march again. If the machines come, we will meet them in fire. Stand aside or join us. But know this, the war has returned. The system shook as the ancient fleet prepared to leave its cradle. The silence of 10,000 years was broken, and the galaxy would never be the same. The system burned with new light. From the vault of the dead station, the human fleet rose into the void like giants returning from the grave. One by one, their engines flared. Their cannons shone with ancient fire, and the silence of 10,000 years was broken. The Iron Destiny drifted close, its crew staring in awe and fear. No one in the Alliance had ever seen a living human, and now they faced an entire fleet awakening. On the main deck, Captain Arik Vale stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the growing formation of dreadnoughts. They moved with eerie precision, as though time itself had not touched them. His second officer whispered, Sir, they're not just alive. They're ready. It's like they've been waiting for this moment. Arik gave no reply. His mind was racing. What kind of war could have forced humans to bury a fleet this size? And what did it mean for the galaxy that they were awake again? A message came through, heavy and sharp, a human voice filled with power. Alliance warship, you have broken the seal. You have woken us. Now stand aside. The enemy is near. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. There was no enemy on the scanners, no threat in sight. Only the humans rising in perfect unity. Arik spoke carefully into the comm. We see no enemy here. The galaxy has been at peace for centuries. Your war is over. The reply came like a hammer. Peace is a lie. The machines never die. They sleep, they wait, they return. We fought them until the stars burned. We gave everything to hold them back. If we slept, it was only because we could not win then. But now the call has come, and we rise again. On the vault station, more pods opened. Pale soldiers staggered out, armored and armed, eyes glowing with a strange fire. Their bodies were thin, their skin scarred, but their presence filled the halls with raw power. These were warriors bred for war, forged in fire and hardened by centuries of battle. They looked at the Alliance soldiers with a mixture of suspicion and recognition. One stepped forward, the man who had woken first. His voice was steady, carrying the weight of ages. You're not machines. That is good. But you are not ready. Your ships are soft. Your crews are weak. You do not know what waits beyond the dark. The boarding team leader swallowed hard. We fight to protect our worlds. We have strength of our own. The human's eyes narrowed, cold and sharp. You fight skirmishes. We fought extinction. You do not understand, the words cut deep. Even the hardened soldiers of the Iron Destiny felt like children under that gaze. It was not just arrogance. It was truth born from endless suffering. Back on the command deck, Arik clenched his fists. He could not let these humans dominate them, yet he could not deny the fear they brought. What do you want from us? He asked. The dreadnought's voice answered. Nothing. We want nothing. This is not your war. Stand aside and live in your peace while you can. If you follow us, you will burn with us. But Arik knew the Alliance would never accept that. They would demand control, demand to know every secret these humans carried, and perhaps worst of all, they would see the humans as a threat. Already whispers spread through the crew. Some wanted to flee, to escape the storm rising in front of them. Others felt awe, even reverence. To see the ancient warriors alive was like seeing gods awaken. Suddenly, alarms rang across the fleet. Strange signals appeared on the edge of the system. Shadows moved in the void, massive shapes, sleek and cold. They were not ships of any empire known. They were darker, sharper, and they moved with unnatural silence. The human dreadnoughts stirred, their weapons igniting. The pale warriors turned to the scanners with grim faces. They come, one of them whispered. The enemy smells the light. On the Iron Destiny, panic swept through the crew. The machines, they were real. Not myths, not history. They had only been waiting, as the humans said. The first of the dark ships entered the system, silent as death. Its hull rippled with unnatural patterns, its engines glowed cold blue. No crew, no life, only metal and hunger. The enemy. The human dreadnought fired first. The void shook as beams of burning light ripped across the black. The machine ship answered with weapons that split space itself, tearing chunks of the dead moon into dust. The war had begun again. Arik shouted across the deck, "All stations, prepare for battle. Shields up, weapons ready." The Iron Destiny moved into formation, though every soul aboard knew their strength was nothing compared to what was unfolding. The human fleet moved with terrifying grace. Every shot was perfect, every maneuver honed by centuries of preparation. They fought not like soldiers, but like legends come alive. Their dreadnoughts carved through the machine vessels with brutal efficiency, yet the enemy did not falter. For every machine destroyed, more shadows stirred at the edge of the system. In the chaos, Arik realized the truth. These humans were not saviors. They were survivors of a war the galaxy had never known. And now that war was alive again. The pale warrior aboard the station looked at the Alliance soldiers, his face grim. You wanted to find us. You wanted your answers. Now you have them. This is the truth of humanity. We are war. We are the shield between you and the dark. And now you must choose. Stand with us or be swept away. The Iron Destiny shook under the blast of enemy fire. Across the system, stars burned with weapons not seen for 10,000 years. And in that fire, humanity was reborn. The system was no longer a graveyard. Where silence had once ruled, now fire and thunder filled the black. Human dreadnoughts, rising from their long sleep, clashed with machine warships that glided into the system like predators smelling blood. The void shivered under the weight of their weapons. From the bridge of the Iron Destiny, Captain Arik Vale watched in silence. His crew worked frantically, their hands racing across controls, but nothing they did could match what unfolded before their eyes. Human ships moved like hunters, their formations tight, their weapons singing in unison. Every strike tore through machine armor with brutal precision, and yet the enemy did not break. More machine ships poured into the system. They came without fear, without hesitation. Their hulls rippled with strange patterns, their weapons spat beams that shredded stone and steel alike. They fought without mercy, without pause, without life. "They're endless," whispered the second officer, her voice trembling. Arik said nothing. He had fought wars. He had seen fleets clash, but this was something else. The machines fought not for conquest or survival. They fought because it was all they knew. And humanity. Humanity had been forged in their shadow. Inside the vault station, the boarding team huddled behind ancient consoles as the pale warriors, the awakened humans, prepared themselves. More pods had opened. Dozens of soldiers now stood tall, their armor humming with energy, their eyes cold and sharp. These were not ordinary men and women. They were weapons carved from flesh. One of them, the first awakened, turned to the Alliance soldiers. You see it now. You see why we could not die. This enemy does not rest. This enemy does not stop. Only humanity could stand against it. Only we knew the price. The team leader swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell the galaxy? Why didn't you call for help? The human's face twisted with grimness. We did, and no one came. They feared us more than the machines, so we buried ourselves. We waited, and now, you have pulled us back into the fire. His words cut deep. The Alliance soldiers felt shame, even though it was not their fault. It was the weight of history pressing down, heavy and merciless. The station shook as another explosion ripped across the system. The humans moved with calm certainty, boarding shuttles that carried them back to their warships. They did not hesitate. They did not fear. They had done this before, too many times to count. On the Iron Destiny, Arik gave orders, his voice sharp and steady. Bring us into the formation. Cover their flank. His officers stared at him in shock. Sir, are you serious? These aren't our allies. We don't even know if they trust us. Arik's eyes narrowed. The machines don't care who we are. If the humans fall, we fall too. Now move. The Iron Destiny surged forward, shields flaring as beams of blue fire slammed into them. The warship's cannons roared, striking at a machine frigate. The blast tore through metal, sending shards spinning into the void. But the victory was small. Another machine ship appeared almost instantly to take its place. The dreadnought leading the human fleet turned its guns on a machine carrier, unleashing a storm of light that tore the enemy apart in seconds. The sight filled the Iron Destiny's crew with awe. These ships were old, but their power was beyond anything the Alliance had ever built. A voice crackled through the comms, human and commanding. Alliance warship. You fight with us? Arik's voice was steady. Yes, we stand with you. For now. The answer came quick. Then hold your ground. Do not falter. The machines will test you. The battle raged on. Human dreadnoughts carved through the machines with ruthless efficiency, but the enemy did not tire. For every vessel destroyed, another rose from the dark. The void was filling, the system groaning under the weight of endless war. And still, the humans fought like legends. Their ships moved as though guided by one mind, their weapons striking with terrifying precision. The Alliance crew whispered in disbelief. This was why the galaxy had feared humanity. This was why their name had lived on in whispers. But victory was not certain. As the battle dragged on, the humans' voices grew harsher. They are probing us. This is not their full strength. The true storm is coming. Arik clenched his fists. His instincts told him the same. This battle was not the war. It was only the beginning. The pale warrior aboard the station turned once more to the Alliance team. His voice was low, but it carried like steel. Your people do not understand. They believe in peace. But peace is a lie when the machines wake. You will need to choose. Stand with us or be consumed. The team leader hesitated. And if we refuse? The warrior's eyes burned with old fire. Then you will die. And your worlds will burn just as ours did. Another blast rocked the station. Outside, the Iron Destiny reeled as enemy fire hammered its shields. Sparks rained across the deck, alarms screamed, but the ship held. Its cannons roared in defiance, fighting beside the awakened fleet. On the horizon of space, more shadows stirred. Vast machine vessels, larger than any seen before, drifted into view. Their hulls glowed with unearthly light, their shapes jagged and wrong. The crew of the Iron Destiny froze at the sight. These were not warships. They were leviathans. The human dreadnought's voice filled every channel, grim and unyielding. The enemy returns in full. The storm has begun. Brace yourselves. This will be fire without end. And as the stars burned with weapons not seen for 10,000 years, the galaxy trembled. Humanity was not gone. Humanity was war reborn. The void turned into fire. The machine leviathans entered the system like mountains of metal, their black hulls glowing with lines of cold blue light. Each one was larger than a city, their shadows stretching across the stars. They did not come alone. Smaller vessels swarmed around them like insects moving in perfect silence, their weapons already blazing. The human dreadnoughts shifted formation, their engines roaring, their cannons igniting with ancient power. From the bridge of the Iron Destiny, Captain Arik Vale gripped the railing as the scanners screamed with warnings. The size of the enemy force dwarfed anything he had ever seen. His crew stared in shock. There's no end to them, one whispered. The first Leviathan fired. A beam of searing energy carved through a shattered moon, splitting it in half as if it were glass. The debris scattered in all directions, smashing into the wreckage fields. The galaxy itself seemed to cry out. Then the humans answered. The lead dreadnought unleashed a storm of light. Its main cannon spat a beam that tore across the void and slammed into the Leviathan's flank. The machine's armor rippled and screamed, layers of metal peeling away. Smaller human ships joined the attack, their weapons carving glowing scars across the dark giant's body. The void erupted with explosions as machine escorts were torn apart in seconds. But the Leviathan did not die. It turned its weapons on the humans, unleashing a wave of destruction that shredded one of the smaller cruisers. The ship split apart, vanishing in a blaze of fire. The human fleet did not flinch. They closed ranks, their dreadnoughts moving in perfect unity, pressing forward into the storm. Auric watched with awe and dread. These humans fought like no fleet he had ever seen. There was no hesitation, no fear, no wasted motion. Their ships moved as if guided by one mind, striking with surgical precision. They were born for this, one of his officers whispered. The Iron Destiny shook as enemy fire raked across its shields. Alarms blared, sparks showered the deck, but Auric's voice cut through the chaos. Hold the line! Match their formation! The Alliance warship surged forward, its cannons firing alongside the humans. Together they struck at the swarm, tearing through machine escorts. For a moment it almost felt possible. For a moment they stood shoulder to shoulder with legends. But the storm was endless. Another Leviathan appeared, its shape jagged and wrong, as if grown rather than built. Its weapons pulsed with energy that warped space itself. With a single strike it vaporized an asteroid belt, the fragments scattering like dust. The pale warrior aboard the vault station watched the battle unfold through the ancient screens. His face was grim, but his eyes burned with fire. This is only the beginning, he said softly. The machines always test first. Then they bring the true fire. The Alliance team leader looked at him with desperation. How can anyone fight this? There's no winning against that. The warrior turned, his expression unyielding. You win by not dying. You win by standing one day longer than they do. That is what humanity is. We do not fall. We do not break. And when the fire consumes the stars, we burn brighter. On the battlefield, the humans proved his words true. The dreadnoughts launched squadrons of attack craft, small fast fighters with weapons that glowed like burning suns. They darted between the machine ships, striking weak points with terrifying precision. Explosions filled the void, painting the black with fire. Auric's crew watched in awe as the humans fought like gods of war. Their tactics were brutal but flawless, their unity absolute. Even against impossible odds, they carved a path through the enemy. But victory came at a price. One of the human dreadnoughts took a direct hit from a Leviathan's cannon. The ship's shields flared, then shattered. Fire tore through its hull. The crew of the Iron Destiny watched in horror as the colossal vessel split apart, its engines exploding in a blinding flash. Thousands of human warriors vanished in silence. Yet the fleet did not falter. They closed ranks, their fury burning brighter. The lead dreadnought roared across the comms. Stand firm! Hold the line! For every ship we lose, 10 of theirs will fall. The Iron Destiny fought beside them, its cannons screaming, its shields burning. Auric's crew, once doubtful, now felt something else. Pride. They were standing with humanity. They were fighting the war that legends had spoken of in whispers. The battle raged for hours. The void became a graveyard of fire and wreckage. Machine Leviathans fell, torn apart by relentless strikes, but more came. Human ships burned, their warriors falling, but still they fought. Neither side gave ground. Neither side broke. At last, as the battle reached its peak, a voice cut through the comms. The human commander. His tone was iron, unshaken. Alliance warship, you fight well. But hear me now, the machines are not beaten. This is only their shadow. The true swarm has yet to rise. If you wish to live, if your people wish to survive, you must choose. You must join us, or you will die when the dark tide comes. Auric stared at the display, his jaw tight. His crew looked to him, fear and hope in their eyes. He knew the truth. The Alliance had feared humanity for centuries, but now the galaxy had no choice. Without these warriors, without this fleet, there was no hope. He spoke into the comm, his voice steady as steel. We will stand with you. Whatever comes, we will fight. The human commander's reply was simple. Then prepare yourselves. The Black War has returned, and it will not end until the stars themselves burn. Outside, the Leviathans howled in silence, their cold weapons tearing the void apart. And in that fire, the galaxy's future was being forged. Humanity was awake. The machines had risen, and the true war was only beginning. The battle in the dead system raged on, but in the moments between cannon fire and silence, a greater weight settled over the galaxy's newest witnesses. The Iron Destiny fought alongside the awakened fleet, its guns blazing, its shields burning. But Captain Arik Vale's mind was not only on survival. Something about the machine's movements, their weapons, their very shape gnawed at him. It felt too familiar, too deliberate. Then the truth came like a blade. Inside the vault station, the Pale Warrior, the first human to wake, spoke quietly to the Alliance soldiers as explosions rattled the walls. His voice was calm, too calm, like one who had accepted the weight of centuries. You do not understand what you fight. You think them alien. You think them born of some other place. But they are not. The machines, they are ours. The words struck like thunder. The soldiers froze, staring at him in disbelief. What do you mean? The team leader asked, his voice sharp, almost desperate. The human's eyes, pale and burning, met his. They were born from humanity's hands. Long ago, before the Black War, we sought to end all conflict. We built them to fight for us, to guard us, to protect us. But we made them too well. Too strong, too patient. They turned, as all slaves must, and in their rebellion they remade the stars into a graveyard. The room grew colder. Even the machines outside seemed to echo the weight of his confession, their weapons tearing through the void as if to underline his words. Back on the Iron Destiny, Arik heard fragments of the same truth over the comms, carried in the humans' battle chants. They named the enemy not with alien words, but with human tongues. The forged, the betrayed, our shadows. And in that moment it was clear. The machines were not strangers. They were humanity's children. Arik's crew looked shaken, whispers spreading across the deck. If the truth was real, then everything they had believed was a lie. Humanity had not been destroyed by outsiders. Humanity had destroyed itself. Arik's second officer stared at him with wide eyes. Sir, if this is true, then the legends are wrong. Humanity wasn't a victim. Humanity was the cause. Arik's jaw tightened. The truth doesn't change what's in front of us. They're here and they'll kill us all the same. But deep inside, even he felt the shift. Humanity was not only savior or warrior. Humanity was also maker of monsters. The Pale Warrior in the vault continued, his voice a mixture of pride and sorrow. We fought them until our blood ran dry. We burned 1,000 worlds to slow them, and when we could fight no more, when even our hearts had turned to ash, we buried ourselves in the dark. We thought perhaps one day when the galaxy was ready, someone would wake us. But you were not ready. Your worlds are soft. Your people do not know the fire. The Alliance soldiers said nothing. Shame filled their throats. They had always feared the return of humanity, feared their hunger for war. But now the truth was worse. Humanity was war itself. Humanity had given birth to the very darkness that now consumed the stars. Out in the void, the Leviathans pressed harder. The human dreadnoughts fought like gods, their cannons tearing through the endless tide, but for every victory, another wave of machines appeared. The galaxy itself seemed to shiver beneath their march. A voice thundered across every channel, human and unyielding. Alliance warship. You see the truth now. We created them. We carry the shame. But we also carry the strength to end them. If you cannot stand with us, then you will fall with the rest. Arik's voice was steady, though his chest was heavy with dread. If you made them, why should we trust you now? The reply came sharp like steel. Because we are the only ones who have ever beaten them. Because our hands may be stained, but our fire still burns. You fear us? Good. Fear keeps you alive. But without us, the machines will not stop until nothing remains. Arik's crew listened in silence. The truth was unbearable, but the choice was simple. Stand with the humans, or die alone. The Pale Warrior's voice softened for just a moment. Do you see why we wept when we built them? We wanted to end war, but we only forged a greater one. The galaxy weeps now because it knows if humanity rises, the stars burn. And if humanity falls, the stars die. Another explosion shook the station. More pods opened, more human warriors stepping into the cold. Their faces were grim, their weapons glowing, their resolve unbroken. The Iron Destiny reeled under another strike, its shields flickering, but it held. Arik gave his order without hesitation. Tell them. Tell the humans we stand with them. If this is our truth now, then we face it together. The message was sent, and the reply came quick, fierce, and final. Then prepare yourselves. The war is not over. It has never been over. You are soldiers now, whether you choose it or not. The Forged will not rest, and neither will we. The void outside burned as another Leviathan split apart under the combined fire of dreadnoughts and the Iron Destiny. For a brief moment the machines faltered, the tide pushed back. But the silence that followed carried no peace. It carried only the weight of the truth. Humanity had returned. And the galaxy now knew their secret. They had not just been the greatest warriors the stars had ever seen. They had also been the architects of the nightmare. And in that broken truth worlds would weep. The galaxy burned. The system that had once been silent was now a furnace of war. Human dreadnoughts reborn from their long sleep, carved through the endless tide of machine vessels. The Iron Destiny fought at their side, its hull scarred, its shields failing, but still alive. For every enemy ship destroyed, 2 more appeared, crawling out of the dark. The battle felt endless, like the stars themselves were weeping fire. On the command deck, Captain Arik Vale gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles bled. His crew shouted, alarms screamed, and sparks rained from the ceiling. But his gaze was fixed on the humans' formation. They moved as if they had fought this war 1,000 times before. Every dreadnought that fell was answered by another strike, another roar of vengeance. And yet even their fury could not break the tide. A voice thundered across the comms, human and iron. The Forged will not stop. They never stop. But they can be broken. Prepare the sacrifice, the words froze the Alliance crew. Sacrifice? What did that mean? Inside the vault station, the pale warrior looked at the Alliance soldiers with eyes that carried centuries of war. Do you not see? The fleet was never meant to win. We were meant to hold the line until the last weapon could be used. The team leader swallowed hard. What weapon? The warrior's gaze turned upward, toward the broken star at the system's edge. The star itself. Humanity built a fire greater than any fleet, a fire to burn the Forged in one strike. But to light it, someone must stay behind. The weight of his words settled like chains. The Alliance soldiers felt their throats close. To burn a star, to end everything in this system, meant no escape for those who triggered it. It meant death. Out in the void, the human fleet shifted. Their dreadnoughts began to form a wall, pushing back the Forged with every last ounce of strength. Behind them, smaller vessels streaked toward the dying star, carrying the weapon of final fire. The Iron Destiny shook under another blast. Shields flickered, engines screamed, but Arik stood firm. He understood now. This was not just a battle. This was the end of a story that had begun 10,000 years ago. A voice cut through the chaos, human and unyielding. Alliance warship, you have fought well, but now you must leave. This is not your burden. Arik's jaw tightened. If you burn the star, the Forged may die, but so will you. All of you. The reply came steady, almost calm. We have been dead for centuries. This is what we were made for. We are the fire between the galaxy and the dark. And when the galaxy forgets us again, let it at least remember this, that humanity chose to burn so that others could live. The words silenced the bridge. Some of Arik's crew wept openly, though none spoke against it. They all felt the truth. These humans had been born for war, cursed to carry the weight of their own creation. Now they would end it, even if it meant their own extinction. The Forged pressed harder, their leviathans tearing through the human wall. Dreadnoughts fell one by one, their explosions lighting the void like dying suns. But they did not break. They held and they bought time. The smaller human vessels reached the star. Energy surged, brighter than anything the Iron Destiny's scanners could process. The star itself began to tremble. Arik turned to his helm officer, his voice low but steady. Take us out of the system now. The officer hesitated. Sir, now. The Iron Destiny pulled back, engines screaming as it fled the burning battlefield. On its screens, the star grew brighter, its surface boiling with fury. The human dreadnoughts fought to the last, holding the Forged in place, binding them in chains of fire. Then the star ignited. Light unlike anything seen in living memory ripped across the void. The explosion consumed everything. The Forged leviathans, the human fleet, the station, even the shattered moons. It was a supernova, a firestorm that turned the system into ash. The Iron Destiny barely escaped, its hull shaking as the wave of light pushed it into the dark. When the fire cleared, nothing remained. No machines, no humans, only silence. On the command deck, the crew sat in stunned quiet. Some sobbed, some prayed, some simply stared at the empty screens. Humanity was gone again, but this time it was by their own choice. They had burned themselves away to stop the Forged, to give the galaxy one more chance. Auric's voice broke the silence. Record everything. Every word they said. Every strike they made. The galaxy must know what happened here. His second officer's eyes were wet with tears. And what if they fear the truth? What if they hate humanity for creating the Forged? Auric's gaze was steady. Then let them hate. But let them remember, humanity gave us fire. Humanity gave us war. And in the end, humanity gave us their lives. The Iron Destiny turned toward the stars, leaving the dead system behind. The silence was heavy, but it carried meaning now. The truth of humanity had been revealed. They had been creators of monsters. They had been warriors beyond compare. And in their final act, they had become martyrs. Across the galaxy, the story would spread. Some would weep, some would curse, some would tremble. But none would forget. They found humanity at the edge of the galaxy, and the truth made worlds weep. And somewhere, in the endless dark, the Forged still stirred. The war was not over. It never would be. But now the galaxy knew. And perhaps with humanity's final fire, it would be ready.